Hello, everyone. My name is Levi Shout, and I am a member of the Human Resources Associate Program here at Moraine Park Technical College.
My name is Sadie Eichstead, and I am also a member of the Human Resources Associates program, also at Marine Park.
And we are here today to give you a brief presentation on why company culture and workplace culture is so important in today's modern business world. And I believe the best way to kick it off is with the positive effects of having good company culture. So I'll have my associate here, Sadie, take it away.
All right, let's start now with the benefits of a positive workplace culture. Start now with psychological safety. Psychological safety is a very important aspect. It helps employees feel like they're in a safe environment that's free of like harmful gossip, retaliation, and other intimidating aspects. Psychological safety has a lot to do with like the comfort and the openness of the environment. Confidence a lot of times stems from people's ability to feel good about their work and feel good about what they're putting out and their skills and their abilities to do whatever is at hand. And that's often supported by employee recognition, positive feedback, and just team members being able to support each other when they need help. And that also kind of plays into stronger team collaboration. An open and comfortable environment plays a big part in trusting your team, being able to work together, as well as employee well-being. Help people feel more comfortable in this setting. Workplaces that respect everybody and respect employees' boundaries will definitely help prevent like employee burnout and just kind of feeling angry and anxious about your job and just making everybody generally happier in the workplace.
Yeah, it's like one of the big cornerstones of workplace culture is ensuring that your staff and as well as your your leadership, they feel like they belong there, like they're part of a team, and through, like you mentioned, making sure that their well-being is intact, making sure that they feel confident about their work. Psychological safety is very much a large factor when it comes to positive workplace culture.
Mhm. Also, employee engagement. You want your employees obviously to be like really engaged with their jobs and like really putting their all into it. And with that support and motivation and inspiration from team members and the employer themselves, that really helps to kind of encourage people to like put their all into their work. It enhances people's creativity and innovation. When you're in an open and comfortable environment like that, it's really helpful to just have know that your coworkers kind of have your back so you feel comfortable in trying new things. Without worry of like retaliation or messing up and getting made fun of or something like that. It's just more comfortable for people to be confident in trying new things. And that all kind of goes into improving organizational performance as well. If everybody's doing great, I mean the organization should be doing great as well. So that's the big picture part of it.
Yeah, like every organization wants to do well, right? And what a lot of organizations don't really realize is in order to be productive and to have good sales numbers or high productivity, it stems from the workers. So if your employees and your staff aren't engaged, you're not going to be putting out quality product, your productivity is going to be down, and innovation won't find any room to grow at your organization. So I think those are very good points.
My last point is also a very big picture aspect about employer brand and workplace reputation. Obviously, going back to that first slide about like employee well-being and just making sure your employees are in kind of a good mindset. Employee People don't want to stay at a job that they're not comfortable at and they're not having a good time at. And having a high turnover rate doesn't really make your company look very good. And also providing employee growth. If people want to stay with the company, having opportunities to kind of grow and change into different positions with better responsibilities, whatever they're looking for, to kind of grow with the employee, to kind of encourage them to stay with the company with the ability to like succeed and do well for themselves. Talent attraction too, as I mentioned with the retention rate, if your company has a high turnover rate, people in the community do kind of take note of that. That kind of feeds into the local reputation too. As people talk, they're like, "Oh, hey, I've heard so and so they can't hold on to employees. People are always coming out of there." That does a lot for your reputation and whether or not you're going to get a lot of applicants based on what people have said and how your workplace culture is. And additionally, aligning with your company vision. Pretty much every company has some sort of morals or mission statement, whatever. And aligning with that with your workplace culture is really important too.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more like in today's business world that like employees are more likely to stay and like apply for companies that they actually want to work for. It's less for like, the actual like income for some, and it's more for I share the vision that the company has, or they are a very reputable company, so therefore my reputation will be boosted as well if I work for that company. So I can definitely understand that workplace reputation is such a key factor in like workplace culture, because your reputation is essentially what your culture is. If your organization is known for, high turnover, poor work life balance, crunch time, no one's really going to want to work there, And Sadie, I think those are some excellent points that you made in your presentation.
Yeah, I think Gen Z also with the upcoming workforce is also a lot more attentive towards like work-life balance. It seems to be a lot more like awareness about that now, so that's
Oh,
really good.
absolutely.
Mhm. Here are my sources for that. And I guess I'll hand it over to Levi now for the negative effects of a poor workplace culture.
Alrighty. So, while we covered the positives first, I believe the next logical step is to cover the negatives of not cultivating a workplace culture and therefore the consequences of such. So we've gone over like really what a positive workplace culture is. It's one that's welcoming, it's one that's inviting, good work-life balance. It's a place where employees want to be. Now, if you were to take that and put a negative spin on it, you've heard the word toxic or toxicity tossed around a lot, which is like a dysfunctional, poor relationship built workplace culture that is focused on negativity. There's a lack of trust between coworkers and your management and leadership, uh, which ultimately stems from poor communication. Which I believe poor communication is the ultimate killer of positive workplace culture. And if more companies, like Sadie mentioned, are more open and communicative with their staff, they're more likely to stay.
I totally agree. Communication is such an important aspect. I mean, it's really frustrating, especially if you're on like a lower level part and you feel as though your upper management does not communicate changes with you well. That's really frustrating.
Yeah, we've all had like managers in the past who don't communicate well. I can say from my personal experience with certain managers, you feel like they shouldn't be management, but you are, entry level. You don't really have the room to say or voice your opinion, and that room to voice your opinion should be allowed and what's the word I'm looking for? Invited and welcomed into the workplace environment. So, if we're talking about negative workplace culture, what it really affects is the organization and the employees at large. Like Sadie mentioned in her presentation, it can lead to stress, psychological effects, it can lead to poor relationships, and it actually turns out that 1 out of 4 employees, you can pick any kind of organization that you've been at, they feel threatened or unsafe in their work environment. So, that really shines a light on how integral company culture needs to be on the forefront of these organizations' mind rather than, productivity, profits, shareholders, stuff like that. And these employees, they have just an overall lower job satisfaction. And if they have a low job satisfaction, that means they feel unfulfilled, they feel like they're not welcome at work. It can lead to a poor work life balance, like Sadie mentioned earlier, which can also lead to, mental health problems and in some cases physical problems. If they're overworked, they can be tired all the time. They can cause injury. If you're tired on the job and you are working in like a production factory and you fall asleep while working on a machine, that can lead to X, Y, and Z effects of that. But I believe the most important effects on employees are the mental and work life balance effects of a negative culture.
That statistic about 1 out of 4 employees feel threatened, that's crazy.
It
I
is,
mean, everybody feels a little uncomfortable when they start a new job, but the fact that that's kind of stayed throughout their entire time of employment, that's really concerning with some places.
yeah, 1 out of 4 is extraordinarily high, and it shouldn't be a statistic at all. You shouldn't have to go to work and feel unsafe. So that really, in my opinion, hammers in the fact that company culture is so important. And it's not just important for the employees, which I consider the backbone of any organization. It also affects the organizations themselves. It can lower your organization's productivity and performance. If you have staff that's leaving and turnover, it costs, time and resources to replace those employees and hire new staff. And it can be up to 3 times or even 4 times the cost of that position's salary in some niche cases. But it is a statistic that does exist, and that should let alone be like a huge, huge red flag for any organization to want to embrace the positive workplace culture. And if you have a really high turnover rate, and harkening back to what Sadie mentioned earlier about your or company's reputation, that can lead to a lower talent pool. She mentioned that people won't want to work at various companies if they hear there's a high turnover rate, if they hear that, oh, they're letting people go so often and it's not really a good place to work at. That damages your reputation, and your reputation with other companies and organizations can be damaged in the process.
Yeah, I think the replacement cost is a big part too. One of the previous courses I had taken, we did a project about like the cost of replacing employees when they quit, and it was like it's just crazy. I mean,
It's
just
absurd.
the time and the effort it takes to find somebody and get them through the training and get them to be ready to work. I mean, that takes a lot of time and money.
And also, like, the current job market, that I'm not professional enough to speak on it entirely, but as one who has searched for jobs before, it sucks. It is just the absolute worst time right now. And if organizations are treating their staff like, like not great or not well, and they need to hear this presentation, they're looking at less talent right off the bat. So now that we've talked on what positive workplace culture is and what negative workplace culture is, I think the best option forward is to talk about ways that you could cultivate a positive workplace culture. I believe this starts with setting expectations right off the bat. If I'm hired somewhere, I want to know what the work environment is like, what kind of work I'll be doing. It's very important for management and leadership of any organization to outline that immediately. And on top of that, they need to embrace diversity, because diversity in the workplace is what breeds innovation. And the more innovative and more creative that your team is and your company is, the more likely your organization is to thrive. And mentioning earlier that Sadie talked about employee recognition, if you are recognizing your employees' talents and their worth, it is great for morale. Um, and that opens the door to them actually wanting to communicate with you, which you should encourage at an organization. Organizations need to be more communicative with their staff and other businesses at all times. And I believe, like we both mentioned earlier, the work life balance is such an integral part of workplace culture, because you hear cases about, like, especially in like the video game development industry, there's so many cases of crunch time for games to be put out. Just as a brief example, that employees are losing sleep, they're losing, time at home with their families, and that should just not happen. So these brief ways to cultivate positive workplace culture, I think, are excellent ways to begin the process.
Yeah, I think employee recognition, especially I know we had talked about it previously, but it doesn't have to be a big thing either. Just like small things like, hey, great job on this project. This was really great.
Right.
Like employee of the month or whatever. I think some details like that can really make a difference. And the fact that like your management is aware of like your progress and how well you're doing and that you're being recognized.
Yeah, like, employees want to feel welcome. They want to feel like they're being seen at work. It's a big thing. Like you also mentioned, especially for Gen Z, which is, at least me, uh, we want to feel like we belong at work. We
Mhm.
want to do things that we love. We want to put our life into our work, but we also don't want our work to be our life. You know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we yearn for that work life balance. I think more so than like any previous generation before us. So cultivating positive workplace culture, especially now with the new workforce, I think is really integral. These are the sources that I used. Feel free to glance over that. And then I'm going to stop sharing my presentation, because if you haven't really latched on to anything that we've said that much during this presentation, I am going to briefly share an article that was written and uploaded by the Harvard Division of Continuing Education. If you don't need to hear it from us, I think Harvard is a source that we can all pretty trust reliably. Um, it's it matters more so than you think it does, because workplace culture is what makes the workplace. It's what makes an organization who they are. It's a organization's identity. It's who they choose to be in the business world. And if you have a positive workplace culture, like Sadie mentioned, you are more likely to have a larger talent pool. You're more likely to welcome in new talent, new innovation, new creativity levels from your staff. And if you are unfortunately part of the group that has a negative workplace culture, I hope that our presentation today gave you a little bit of a highlight into the consequences of a negative workplace culture and why a positive workplace culture matters so much in the business world. And Sadie, I believe you had a poll ready for us that you could submit with us at the end of this presentation.
Absolutely. So in the invitation email that you would have received for this, there was a link to a jot form survey. If I can get out of my presentation here.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. How do how do I close out with this? Bear with me. There we go. There's this workplace culture seminar feedback. It's just a few questions and it's linked in that invitation email. Your feedback's really vital to us just to ensure like what can we do to make this better? Was this a good use of your time? Just a few questions. So your feedback is greatly appreciated on that. And it definitely helps us to improve our presentations for the future.
And I think having a poll of or any kind of feedback like outlet at the end of any kind of webinar is so important to
Mhm.
ensuring that future, projects like this goes more smoothly. And even like ourselves, I'm going to fill out this feedback form myself after this presentation is over. But it's good to reflect on how you did on the project, how you did well with your co-collaborators, and I hope that we all learned something today. Like we said at the beginning of the presentation, my name is Levi Shout. I am a member of the Human Resources Associate program here at Moraine Park.
I am Sadie Eckstedt. I am also part of the Human Resources Associates program at Moraine Park.
And we would like to thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you.
Thank you.